Hi guys, Josh here. Today we're going to talk about something more beginner friendly, which is the cleaning or algae crew. So these are all my cleaning clue that I use. Today we're going to dive into each one of them and let me share with you my experience on what they do and what they don't do and some other things that you might need to consider before using them. Let's get started. First one is auto. Do you know what auto actually do in our tank? The main usage for auto is actually to eat or to clean the brown algae, which is also known as diatom. If you think that auto can help you to clean some other algae, I'm sorry to disappoint you that they don't. The main thing that auto do in our tank is just to clean the brown algae. And basically that is all, nothing else. And due to that reason, I would recommend to put the auto in our tank as early as possible. I will usually do it during the dark start process because that is where most of the time the brown algae will happen. Yeah, the first third to fourth week usually we will have this diatom issue. So I will try to introduce the auto as early as possible because that is about the period where they can make themselves useful. We don't usually have brown algae problem after like 2 months, 3 months. So if you introduce the auto too late, well, basically they are not too much useful to our tank anymore. And I will usually put like 5 to 10 pieces in our tank, which is 150 centimeter. If your tank is bigger or smaller, you can adjust this number of auto accordingly. Actually, they are pretty cute and pretty harmless. Why don't we put more? You might ask. Because they like to photobomb our during tank shooting. Of course, if let's say there are a few pieces, a few auto, one or two, usually I don't mind. And especially when they are at the side of the glass, I don't mind. But if you have too many of them in your tank and they are like sticking on the front glass, yeah, usually that will not be a very good final photo. They could become the focus point, and which is not what we want. So I will try to keep the number, let's say reasonable. Usually I put, let's say 5 in my tank. I think that is good enough. And one other thing that you need to take care when having this auto is that you may have to feed them after 2 or 3 months because usually brown algae will not be there anymore after, let's say, more than 2 months. You hardly or you seldom get brown algae anymore. And this auto, they will have nothing to eat. We have to bear in mind that auto actually it is quite difficult for them to compete with other fish in the tank for fish food that we feed to our tank, because no matter whether your fish food is the flaky types or the pellet type, whether it's sinking or floating, auto is not the kind of fish that will chase those fish foods. So because of their eating behavior, so very often I see auto starving in my tank, and I know guilty as charged because I don't really feed them, and I sometimes will find skeleton of auto. So because after the brown algae period, basically they are having nothing to eat. So if you want to keep auto in your tank, make them healthy, you might have to feed them with some, for example, cucumber or some algae waffle, something like that, so they can maintain a certain kind of diet and not really have to starve them to death. So this is auto for you. The second cleaning clue that I love very much is black molly. Yeah, you might ask why have to use black molly? Can I ask some other types of molly like this? Yes, of course you can. But personally, to me, black molly will look more professional and then also looking more pretty compared to the other colorful types of molly. So personally, I would recommend black molly for aesthetic reason. And what do they do? The sole purpose for me to have black molly in my tank is to clean or to eat the surface oil film or the biofilm. This biofilm actually is a result of having excessive organic matter in our tank, like all those extra or excess fish food, fish waste, or some let's say decaying plants in our tank. All this will produce some kind of protein that will form this oil film on our, let's say, water surface. Especially personal opinion, if I have a wood tank, this oil film problem will become more severe. I do not know why. I believe because of the wood, they may, let's say, leach out some kind of, I don't know, organic matter that cause this oil film to be more severe. So having black moly is to clean this oil film. And you might ask, why can't we use a surface skimmer? Yes, of course, I think surface skimmer is the most common method to clean the oil film. But personally, I really do not like surface skimmer for a few reasons. First of all, I do not like extra equipment in my tank. And usually in my tank, there's only the filter inlet and outlet. That's all. I do not have any other equipment in my tank because I want to keep the equipment to the minimum. And having that surface skimmer in my tank, it just look ugly. And surface skimmer sometimes will give out some noise. It can be noisy, especially when the water level is lower. Then it can give out a lot of sounds, which is I don't like as well. And also the bubbles. It will sometimes discharge a lot of bubbles. The last reason why I don't like surface skimmer, because I think it may affect the effectiveness of the carbon dioxide because of too much surface movement, the aeration that will cause maybe the carbon dioxide to be not so effective in our tank. So I like to use moly, and I think it can replace surface skimmer perfectly. So my recommendation is you can introduce them to your tank whenever that you think it is necessary. For example, you can only introduce them after you observe that there are some oily surface problem. Otherwise, you may be able to skip this cleaning crew as totally. But personally, for me, because I use a lot of wood, I will usually have a bit of this oily surface issue. So I will introduce the moly basically as soon as possible. And for how many? Usually I keep 4 to 5 for my 150 centimeter tank, which is usually more than enough. And I will only use either male or female. I'm not going to mix them. Why? Because they breed like rabbit. They can really breed a lot. As long as you have male and female in the same tank, I can guarantee you that they're going to breed. And of course, they're small. Maybe their fries is actually quite small. If you don't mind, that is actually fine. But after 2 or 3 months, they are going to get bigger, and I really don't want to have like 10 or 20 of the black molly swimming in my tank when I'm taking the final photo. So I will usually tell my fish shop guys that I want only male. Why male? Because I think the male mollies are a little bit more attractive. It is a bit different from human, where usually the female is more beautiful, but for animals and for molly, the male one is actually a little bit more elegant, slimmer and all that. So usually I prefer the male molly. Okay. The third algae clue or cleaning clue is, I think this is the most popular one, Yamato shrimp. And what do they do? The main task for the Yamato shrimp is to eat or to clean the hair algae. This is the main types of algae that this Yamato shrimp will help us. And there are something that you might want to know. I will usually introduce them 1-2 weeks after planting. Of course, you can introduce them earlier as well. Personally, for me, because I think that because of their habit, they like to dig stuff, especially our substrate. And if you have freshly planted carpet plants, especially like HC, Cuba, because we don't plant them too deep into the soil, this Yamato shrimp may unroot them, and sometimes you have this floating unroot problem. So I will give the plants like 1-2 weeks to settle down, to maybe grow some root before I introduce a Yamato shrimp. And as for how many you can put, I will say for this algae crew, cleaning crew, there are not too many downside. You can put actually as many as you want, as long as your budget allows. These are not really the the cheapest cleaning glue that you can find. So usually for me, I would say 20 to 30 Yamato shrimp in my 150 centimeter tank is sufficient. Of course, if you have more budget, you can put more. And one thing that you need to know is that they don't breed in our tank. You might see a lot of your Yamato shrimp having eggs, but they are not going to breed in your tank because I think this is because they need a certain specific condition for them to spawn, for them to breed. If I understand correctly, it has to be a mixture of fresh water and seawater. So usually in the river where it's going to the sea, between the river and sea where the fresh water and the sea waters are mixing, this is the place where they can spawn or they can breed. In our tank, there is no chance that they will breed. Yeah. So this one, don't get too excited if you see your Yamato is having eggs. Siamese algae eater, or SAE. Personally, for me, this is the most powerful algae eater ever. And they have almost the same function as the Yamato shrimp, which is to clean hair algae. But personally for me, they are much more efficient in cleaning hair algae than the Yamato. Not only that, if you are using wood in your tank, you might experience that very often. Actually, you have this slimy and fluffy stuff on the wood, especially in the first 1 or 2 weeks. Those are not algae. This is actually the wood fungi. It happened to me basically all the time. So I would like to, usually I use SAE to clean them. So it is quite effective to clean this kind of wood fungi in our tank using SAE. And to be fair, Yamato and Mori do clean this wood fungi as well, but in my opinion, not as effective as the SAE. And I will usually introduce SAE early because during the dark start period, the first 1-2 weeks after I flood my tank, that is the time where we have a lot of this slimy, fluffy stuff, the wood fungi on our wood. So this is a time where I think SAE is useful. So I will try to introduce them early during the dark start period, and I would not put too many, 5, maybe 10. In my 150 centimeter tank. I would advise you not to put too many. Why? Because they are going to turn your moss into skeleton. And of course, not this skeleton, because SAE, basically, they like to eat anything that is wavy, soft, and hairy. So moss is something like that, wavy, soft, and hairy. So if you put too many SAE in your tank, and let's say if you are not feeding your tank, for example, you haven't introduced your shellfish yet, so you don't really feed your fish. And let's say there is no hair algae in your tank, this SAE will start to nip, to munch on your moss, and it will turn your beautiful moss into skeleton like that. So I will be very careful. So I try not to introduce too many. To me, maybe 5, or if let's say my tank do not have a lot of moss, for example, or the moss is in a position that is not so obvious, not so important, I can put 10. But I would try to be more conservative most of the time. Maybe 5, 6 is still possible. It's still okay. And one more thing that you need to know about this SAE, try to buy the smallest one. Because once the SAE grow bigger, they become more or less useless. They become very lazy. So in my personal opinion, if you buy the SAE from the shop that it is like more than 5 centimeter, they will basically do nothing in your tank and just wait for the fish food. Seriously. So try to buy as small as possible. Let's say smaller than 3 centimeter. So this kind of smaller SAE, they are very hardworking. You can see them working non-stop in your tank. But once they grow bigger, like for example, after 2 or 3 months in your tank, once they grow slightly bigger, more than 5 centimeter, they will basically stop working on the algae problem and start every day waiting for the fish food. So this one you have to keep in mind. And then I have Malayan shrimp. So this is a local shrimp, which is quite similar function like the Yamato. They only eat hair algae. And I would say that I would introduce this shrimp only when the tank is more stable, because this is a bit more sensitive. If let's say we introduce them too early, like in the first 1-2 weeks, for example, where our tanks is still not stabilized, this shrimp can have problem because they are a bit more sensitive. And basically, you can have as many as you like. They are really, really small, and they are very cheap. Yeah, they are cheap. In my country, Malaysia, one Yamato shrimp, if you buy one Yamato shrimp, you can have 6 Malayan shrimp. So it is 1 to 6, that kind of price ratio. So they are really cheap. So usually I will buy like 100, 200 of them and just dump into my tank. Other things that you need to know is that they can breed in our tank. Yeah, so if you have 100, then at the end of the day, you can have more than 100. But they are also small and delicious for some fish. So usually, if I have some fish that is small, let's say predatory, they can hunt this shrimp down and finish them. For example, my last tank where I have the melon barb, when I rescape, I basically cannot find any more Malayan shrimp, which I put 100 inside. And during the rescape process, there are 0 Malayan shrimp inside. So I think it depends on what kind of fish you keep. But usually, for my tank, I will just dump in 100 and they will do their job. One more thing that you need to know is that they will make the rescaping quite hard. Because imagine if, let's say, you don't have their, let's say, nothing is eating them. And if you put 100 inside, at the end of the day, after 3 months, 4 months, there could be a few hundreds inside your tank. And during the rescaping process, you need to take them out one by one. That could be a painstaking process. But I usually try to salvage them as many as I can. But sometimes, let's say they are getting too many, I will guilty as charged. I will just pretend not to see them and just want to make the rescaping process as fast as I can. So this is Malayan shrimp. The last one is Nerite snail. Basically, not only this type of snail, there could be some other types of algae eating snail, but personally, I only experienced this Nerite snail. And what they do is eating the green spot or green dust algae. This green spot algae, no other algae eater can clean them, only the snail type. If you think that Otto can help you to clean the green spot algae, you are wrong. Otto can't eat the green spot algae. Otto can only eat the brown algae. So if you want to control your green spot algae or green dust algae on your tank glass and on your plant leaves, the snail type of cleaning crew is the only option that you have. However, I do not recommend them. No particular reason actually, because I just think that the green spot algae is something that I can clean very easily myself. If let's say they are on the tank glass, it will just take me like 1-2 minutes to use an algae scraper or even an expired credit card to clean them. 1-2 minutes. And if let's say they are on the plant, well, actually I don't usually have brown algae on my plant, but if say they are on the plants, I can easily just trim them away. So I don't feel that this snail types of algae eater is particularly useful for me. One more reason is that they can actually get quite big, like the thumb size. And if you have a few of them in your tank, and imagine their colors are usually very bright and striking and big size. If you have like a few of them in your tank during final photo session, they could be quite interesting in the bad way. Yeah, so I usually don't recommend them. I only use them like one time in my entire aquascaping journey. So I don't think they are really that necessary or useful. And these are the 4 types of algae that I think no algae crew can help you. Green water, BBA, BGA, and the staghorn algae. These are the 4 types that no matter what kind of algae crew you put, they can't help you to clean these 4 types. You have to use some other methods in order to get rid of them. And the treatment methods for this 4 type of algae now is very simple. I will tell you now, you just have to ask Google, YouTube, or your AI buddies. All these treatments are very well documented. I think all this search engine can really tell you a lot better than I can ever do. So don't ask me, ask them. Last but not least, I want to tell you or share with you the one reason that can cause algae bloom. To be honest, I think that algae in our tank is something very common. There is no tank, no aquascaping tank that can be free of algae. So I will try to usually live with them. If they say they are not too obvious, if they say they are not harming my plants, if they say they are not looking too ugly or obvious in the final photo, having a little bit of algae here and there usually is acceptable. But very often we see some friends posting in social media a tank full of algae. It's like infested badly with algae. That is what we call algae bloom. They post their tank photo like that and ask what happened, why it happened this way. Let me tell you why. The only reason for algae bloom is your laziness and negligence. That's all, nothing else. If we see algae start to, let's say, appearing in our tank, my advice is slowly and manually clean them. Take them out bit by bit and try to observe our tank, try to make sure that the algae is under control. We will never have the algae bloom issue. If you neglect your tank, you don't really observe your tank, and you are, let's say, just don't care about your tank, after 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, you will have the big issue, and then it will be sometime too late to do anything else. So just remember, don't neglect your tank. Pay attention, observe them. If you see some algae, take them out manually or find other means to eliminate them. It will never manifest in a way that become like a full-blown stuff. So don't be lazy. That is the only advice I can give you to prevent your tank from being taken over by algae. Okay. Thank you for watching. This is a rather beginner-friendly video. So maybe in future, I will incorporate more of this kind of a beginner's guide in my video. I don't know. I hope you like it. Bye-bye.